Hey, good morning, everybody. Saturday morning live stream. It's been a little while since I've been on. Lots of stuff going on. My computer took a dump on me. I had to rearrange my office. My car broke down. All kinds of fun, crazy stuff going on in my life. And we did have a guest scheduled last week. However, he's here now. So I'm happy that we finally got him here. We got a lot to discuss. We have a whole agenda planned. We do have a giveaway today. We'll discuss that in a little bit. Let's see. Got a bunch of the people in here that I know. Peter Salem, what's going on, buddy? Haven't seen you in a long time. No, Rob, I'm not into country music, nor will I ever be into country music. So without further ado, the person I'm introducing is a good friend of mine. We met. We'll talk about it when he comes in, but a good friend of mine, big time reefer. He's taught me a lot of stuff that I actually tell you guys on a weekly basis. So you know how they say you should have a mentor? Well, definitely Aaron is my mentor. So let's bring him on in if you don't know him. This is Aaron Gray. What's going on, Aaron?
Hey, what's going on, Derek? Thanks for the intro, man. That was great.
So if you guys don't know him, he's Aaron's Aquaculture. He's always in our chats, and I'm going to kind of just introduce you a little bit. Aaron kind of started the channel with me. He's kind of a co-creator. When I met Aaron, I think I met him on maybe Reef Dudes or something. I don't remember specifically. And I was struggling with nutrients or I don't know what I was struggling with. And Aaron started talking. And once he started talking, I'm like, man, this guy knows his stuff. So I PM'd him, and ever since, Aaron, we probably talk every day. Right? We
Yeah,
talk
pretty much
like,
do.
I mean, me and Aaron probably talk more than I talk to my wife. Like, we talk a lot about all kinds of stuff, obviously. But, then he came up to me and he's like, you know what, dude, you know that automation stuff. You should start like a YouTube or something. And I'm like, no, I don't ever want to go on video. I don't like talking. And then he's like, no, you should do it. And then he's like, you should start a channel on Facebook. So me and him started a channel on Facebook, as you know, Reef Automation. That's why he's a moderator and admin with me. So this is Aaron, guys. It's good to have him on. I'm so excited to have him on. I've tried to have him on so many times, talk about all kinds of cool stuff. I definitely want to get your questions in on this chat. He's going to be watching the chat too. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Aaron, where you live, your reefing, how you got into reefing, the whole nine, and yeah, whatever else you want to say.
I guess it started in '93. For Christmas one time, my dad bought me a 90-gallon tank. Didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I ran around the shops and I just saw all the saltwater fish. So my first tank was actually a saltwater tank. If you know me, I move forward really fast and I'm always working on something. So yeah, I mean, in '93, there wasn't a whole lot of reefing stuff out there. I mean, corals were cheap, they were big. I ordered a custom sump at that time, which was, nobody had really seen real sumps back then. And it just kind of started from there. Started buying the big corals. Of course, when you bought a big coral colony back then, you knew it might live 6 months. But as it progressed, I had a lot of people that kind of mentored me too, like back in the '90s. And it's just grown from there. And I've been able to work on so many tanks in my life that I learned from everybody's tank. As you know, I talk and chat with people pretty much nonstop. I've kind of backed off now, but it used to be from 6 or 7 a.m. till 10 or 11 at night every single day, just like you, go through PM. I try not to get too public, but I do help a lot of people through their chats. And if you're local, I've helped set up, probably last year, a little over 100 tanks locally. But I get to learn off of every tank. So I've had a good chance to learn everything, absorb everything just from my mistakes, other people's mistakes, and then having some mentors. I met Mike Paletta like in '95, and I learned so much from that guy sitting and chatting with him at one of the reef shows. Back then, reef shows might have seen 100 people.
Yeah.
So I got to sit and learn from him. And over the years, I mean, I've kind of lost contact with him, but I do still follow what he's doing. But, I'm kind of on that level too, brag. But, I get to experiment, learn, and test, as you've seen a lot.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I held
know,
off on doing your streams.
huh?
I'm sorry, I held off on doing your streams because I didn't want to do them without having a system. Because
Right,
I had some surgeries, I had to sell all my systems that I had, and I was down
right.
for about 2 years. So as I started building my system, you wanted me to come back on. I was like, I just can't do it until at least I have a system. And I mean, my system's not done yet, but I mean, it's getting where I don't mind showing it a little bit. It takes almost 6 months right now.
Yeah, it's doing fantastic from my view. I mean, this is the first time I've got to see it. I didn't want to see it beforehand. I wanted to comment on it as I see it. But yeah, the sump, everything he's been doing, it's looked great. Like frankly, or funny enough, I have two friends that are named Aaron. I got you, and then I got Batfish Killer, as people know him, Aaron. And I've sent Aaron a few things, both of them. So you have a couple of my parts
Oh yeah,
on there, I'm pretty sure.
oh yeah. The
um,
algae scrubber came from you.
yeah, that's right. But there's been so many times, guys, and I'll plug you whatever you want me to plug, Aaron. But best way to get a hold of you is probably on Facebook, right? I mean, if people
That's right.
want to bug
Yeah,
you.
just private message me is normally the best way. 'Cause I was scanning and trying to give information on like the BRS TV or some of the other larger groups, and as you notice, a lot of people with experience kind of don't really go there anymore. It's just
No,
you get attacked. I mean, that's just where we are right now. So I
yeah,
just kind of backed off a little bit from those. But I mean, yeah, get a hold of me through either your group or something like that.
right. Yeah, definitely my group. Aaron is pretty active on my group, especially when I tell him to be active.
Yeah,
But
I need a reminder sometimes because I kind of backed off a little bit on some of the social media stuff. So,
yeah,
yeah, if I get reminders, I definitely go in. It's not because I don't want to
but
be there. It's just because, it goes, on the wayside.
but I got to tell you guys, when I was having these problems with my tank, I was like, what can be going on? And I don't remember where you commented, but you said something about the nutrients being so low, and I had never heard that before. This was a while. I don't know how long we've known each other now. It's been a long time now.
It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah. But he said to me, and I always remember, he said, you know what, your nutrients are too low. That's why you're having these issues. And then I started putting in, was it no pox or some bull crap, something that was causing all kinds of problems. And you're like, just stop dosing that and get your nutrients up. Once I started doing that, guys, it's such a simple concept now, but back then I didn't know. And saying back then, what, 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't really know that if you had your nutrients so low that you can have so many problems. And that was my fix. And ever since then, if I have a real crazy reefing question, I'll ask Aaron. I'll be like, what do you think the cause of this is? And he'll have a pretty good explanation of why. I also met Humblefish through you. I believe you guys are pretty good friends. Who
Hey, he
taught
just moved
me.
down the road from me.
Oh, so you know, I was able to learn a lot about quarantining from both Aaron and Humblefish and saving fish, and I've been able to save fish now because of them. So, like I said, really good resource to have. So, if you guys don't know him, like I said, just go on my channel and just bug him because I bug him enough. Let's see. We're gonna go Uptown Reefers asking about your tanks and stuff. We're gonna go over that in a few. But let's start with a few fun things to start. So the first fun thing I want to discuss with you is Aaron somehow magically got a Mastertronic. I don't know how he got a Mastertronic before
Yeah, I don't
me,
have it set up yet.
but
When I first heard about it, I did what a lot of people did, but they didn't really tell anybody. But they did have a pre-order list, and it went up
yeah,
on
they didn't tell
Forum. And the day
anybody,
it went up, I got in on that. What's that?
including his friend. He didn't tell me. He didn't tell anybody.
No. Well, I didn't really think. I figured everybody had already been on it, so I was like, oh, I'll go ahead and see. Because I've done that. I mean, it took me like months to get a PS5, but it was the same thing.
Right.
I got on the list. I got one eventually. But yeah, I mean, I know I believe, only ship 60 to the United States right now. And I think they're back ordered pretty good, but I think a lot of them will start shipping next year.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I was happy to get one. I don't have it set up yet. I was talking to Devin this morning, Reef Dudes, just trying to find out what tests are working best with it. And I'm sure they have something in the makes to even add to that because I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
coral reefs kind of changed how they were from years back. So they've been really responsive. When I start setting it up, I'm sure I'm going to have questions about it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go to their Facebook page, they've been really good about helping me out.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
with changing my automation too.
Yep, they. I will agree with you. They used to not be so wonderful to deal with. They have definitely
Yep.
changed over the years, so I totally agree with that. But yeah, he's got a Mastertronic, and I still have my stupid reef bots. So we're
And you got a
still.
reef bot.
Yep. And it's funny because Aaron knows all of the problems I've had with my reef bot. He's seen it. He's experienced it with me, and
Well,
he can
to add
attest.
to that, I had 4 or 5 locals that actually had them.
Uh-huh.
And as of right now, within a year, none of them have it anymore.
Of
If that
course
says
not.
anything for it, just issues, and then I don't know what it is, but every one of them that contacted basically the same stuff you were having.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know if it's the servers for our area or what it was, but when they would go down, and then they'd go to the page, like I said, I deal with a lot of tanks.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think it was 3 at the same time had the same issue. I went to their support page and I asked a question. It's like, well, this is doing this. How do I fix that? And that's why I like people to approach me.
Mm-hmm.
They blocked me from their page, so I had no way of contacting them. So I couldn't support the people that were buying them here.
Right.
So
Well,
as
they
of now, I
blocked.
don't know of
Yeah,
anybody local that's got one.
they blocked me right away after I said, "Listen, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I having so many issues?" And then, of course, he remembers the day when it leaked all over the place and broke half of my shit. It's just,
Yep, tried everything.
yeah. So he knows, Aaron knows what I've been through with it, and he's still got a Mastertronic, and I didn't. But that's okay. It's okay. I'm not.
At least I know I'll
Uh,
get support because I've already asked questions about it, and within
mm,
minutes sometimes I get a response.
that's
So they're doing
fantastic.
really good on the support side so far. But
Yeah.
like I said, mine's not set up. I'm sure I'll have issues because it's fairly new, and I accept that, and I would have accepted that with the Reef bot too, if they
Uh,
would have given support, but they didn't.
yeah, I would have accepted it. Yeah, if both of mine didn't have all these problems, and yeah, they don't want to help and blame me for everything and the whole nine. It's just anyway.
Yeah.
So he's been through it, and I just wanted to mention that he's got a Mastertronic. So if anyone knows where he lives, please steal it from me. Okay. Um, Going into kind of the same subject, I just want to get this off my chest because I want people to hear it from someone that I talk to all the time. But another fun one that you deal with is aquarium engineering. Am I mistaken in my assumption? You have a couple
Oh,
people that you've dealt with
right.
that as well? Because guys,
Oh,
I've said this on my channel multiple times, but unfortunately, I had an ACR with a problem, and people know most of the story, but I want to hear it from someone else. Have you experienced similar issues as well with that
yes.
company?
Yeah, he has really good ideas. I mean, Bill he's a really smart guy, but I don't know if his attention span is kind of off a little bit. And I hate to say that about somebody, but when he starts something, it's like he never finishes it.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I've got one local here that spent $14,000 for a
Wow.
custom, all kinds of reactors, calcium reactor. They got a skimmer that's like 7 foot tall. It has a power washer in it that sprays everything down. I mean, it's a really neat skimmer, really neat setup. It's a large system that they have, but they've had it for like 3 years. And right now, every single piece on there is jury rig. Nothing is actually factory set up. So, I mean, and they always get excuses. Well, we're going to send you parts or we're going to do this. And the parts never go out.
Right.
So I don't know what it is. I really like the quality of his builds. It's just they're never finished. So I don't like talking bad about different companies or anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
just one that I would not recommend just because all the issues I've seen. I mean, I walk through yours, like I say, we
Uh-huh.
chat daily and we talked every day about the issues you're having and some
Mm-hmm.
of the stuff I would have done to fix some of it. But you needed parts for it. And he wouldn't even
Right.
send parts. So yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I got blamed for almost everything, even though it had nothing to do with me. But that's another story. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, so again, I'm starting the conversation with all this because we're gonna have the fun stuff later. I want to go through the bad stuff first. So another thing that I had that me and Aaron really went into depth with guys that don't know this in the channel. Probably people in Florida know this or nearby you, but you did a full test on Aquachar. Am I mistaken? You did an entire
Oh,
test on it.
yeah.
to see
Right. Yeah, I went down.
what it's doing. And you did this on your own. No one like told you to do this. You just made a decision to find
Right. Well,
out what's
in
going on
general,
with
to
this
kind of explain
product.
what I do,
Yeah.
to explain what I do, when I started out in reefing, I didn't have money. And whenever I bought a product, a lot of times I had to save up for it. My first controller, I had to save up for months to get my first controller. So if that would have failed or I need to spend more money on it, I put myself in other people's shoes because a lot of, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a really high percentage of reefers that get into this
Mm-hmm.
they're big time budget reefers. So
Oh yeah.
whenever I look at anything, I look at it from their eyes. If they buy this, what do they gain from it? Or do they just throw away their money they've been working hard and saving up for? So when the Aquachar came on, it just blew up on every single page. I mean, they had people that I don't know if they paid them to do it, but they were given false tests, and I was like, it just seemed too good to be true. So I went ahead and ordered some, and I actually paid for it. I paid full price. I don't tell people what I'm doing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't take, I don't say, hey, give me something for free. Normally, these companies don't even know I'm buying it. But just to see if it was actually as good as what they said. It was just some of the tests results they were given were absolutely just off the chain. And if you're a new reefer, you didn't know any better. But I saw them, I was like, that's not even possible. So yeah, I did some big tests. I broke it down. I broke it into dust. I did iodine tests. I did copper absorption. I did all these tests, and
You sure
I thought,
did.
you know what? When it came in, it looked just like lump charcoal. So I tested 5 different carbons, and it actually tested almost identical to lump charcoal I bought at Walmart. So, and then I did, if anybody saw the write-ups I did microscopic pictures to show actually the pores in it. And I mean, it was, in my opinion, it's probably just lump charcoal. They may get it from another country or whatever, but in the end, that's basically what it was. Rocks was the second best, but actually, I can't remember the name of the other company right now, but there was a off-brand company that actually blew away everything that was out there. But I
Uh-huh.
don't see their carbon for sale anymore. So,
Yeah.
but the other one did really good. But yeah, I mean, I've gone back to rocks. Just since we're on carbon, they had a lot of reports of fish issues using different types of carbon. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm just a rocks user. But yeah, back to Aquachar. Yeah, the test just showed it was
So
basically just all high.
I'm gonna get into this a little bit deeper. So when I first saw Aquachar, and the reason we're talking about this, guys, is because Aaron did full testing on this, and that's the only reason I'm bringing it up because he knows it better than anybody. And what shocked me about this product, guys, is that if you go to their website, there's a whole thing about some guy that went to Africa and found some special product like some magic voodoo and brought it to Arizona, brought it to the United States, and then they all this stuff. If you go on there and look at it, and after all of this, Aaron is saying to you that it's lump charcoal from Walmart, essentially, after all the testing he did. So it's, again, we find this stuff in our hobby, and you know me, guys. I like to expose stuff like that because it's not fair to the average reefer to spend money on things if you're getting bamboozled. And unfortunately, that's been a commonality in our hobby for a long time. People come up with this stuff that they say will do this, and then it kills their tank or it does something it's not supposed to. And I don't know. I know
I
that.
mean, it would work as a media of some type, but their claims on raises your pH and does all this special stuff for your tank. I mean, you
Mhm.
even helped me out on that testing for I
I
think a
sure
month or
did.
two,
I did. I
and
bought it
you
as well.
saw no results for it.
Nope.
I mean, but people are saying, "Oh, my tank's doing good." Well, they're putting in a lot of money worth into their tank of this stuff, and I
Hmm.
mean, it's just working probably as a media base, something to store media or bacteria base.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's better products out there that are much cheaper that can do that.
Right.
I'm not going to replace my carbon with something that's going to do that when there's better products out there that have been doing it for decades.
And that's the thing is I know you guys out there expect me to just explain and be unbiased, but I also like to put out there, people getting screwed over. I think it's important, and I do it all the time. And Aaron doesn't know this, but he's my behind the scenes guy that tells me, "Hey, yeah, they're getting screwed." I'm like, "Okay, I'll let everyone know."
Yeah.
uh, Anyway, so I just wanted everyone to go out those 3 products. We're going to go over the 3 products, and we're done with that. Aaron's been through testing with me of all these products, and when I say don't buy it, I say don't buy it. So, a lot of people ask about your lights. Those are what are they? I forgot.
Reef breeders.
the reef breeder lights, and you
Those are
love
reef
them.
breeders, and a lot of people. Yeah, the reason why I started my tank with that was because I didn't want to change the light. And we'll get into it later on how I like to run a system, but I like a system when it sets up from day one, no changes are going to come to it later. So I know I was going to have high growing. You can see some of the coral in there,
Hmm.
but I mean, I grow coral normally, typically really fast. And then you start getting shadowing, and then people add lights or whatever. So yeah, I've got 4 reef breeders, and then I also have the reef breeders UV bar to add some UV to it because they don't really have UV in those lights.
Hmm.
But in it, and I'm running 300 par or so at the top. I don't run super high par. But the reason why I have so many lights is just to prevent shadowing down the road. So changing your lights is just like changing a different type of parameter in your tank.
Hmm.
Everything has to adjust to it. So if you're adjust your alkalinity really high, it's basically like if you change your lights, it's the same type of situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got 4 reef breeders on there and run about 300 par on it. For lights, I start my lighting, and you actually run my schedule now, but I start my
Hmm.
lighting. It comes on at 7 a.m. and it shuts off at 10 p.m. So, but I have a very gradual, and the way I came up with the way I do my lights is I borrowed a power meter and I went out for 2 weeks. See, I live right by the water. I can see the water. I live in the Gulf of Mexico, but I
Hmm.
see the water from my house. So I basically have the same type of sun as what the ocean would have. So I ran a power meter for about 2 weeks and took the averages and applied it to my tank.
Very
And when
cool.
I changed everything, the growth was absolutely insane. And you got to figure out like maybe only 6 to 8 hours that is actually usable for the coral. The rest is
Right.
basically for me.
Yeah, and you kind of taught me that a long time ago, and that's how I run my sky. I run them. I think my photo period is 12 hours, and 4 hours is slow ramp front and back. So it's really only what's that? 8 hour, 6 something. I can't do math right now, but anyway, there's only like a 4 hour like really high period, and my corals love it. I've never had any issue. I see people running full blast for 8 hours, and that's not real. That's not nature. Nature doesn't have. The sun isn't blazing on these corals for 8 hours right above them. So you kind of have to think about it like that. And I've actually had problems personally when I have real bright light for more than like 6 hours. I've noticed that my corals don't grow as fast. They have, they're not as happy. They shrink a lot more. Um,
Yeah, my peak's about 3 hours.
yeah. So I did notice that. I think I learned that from you. Yeah. So I totally agree. So I forgot to mention something before we go on, but some of you guys last week were wondering about this whole Neptune BRS merger, and uh, I wanted to discuss it a little bit. I don't know if Aaron has any opinions on it, but he's going to show us his system. He did have Neptune, and I think I sent him a bunch of Neptune stuff, and decided to not go with Neptune, but we'll go over that in a little bit. um, but I think a lot of people just want to know my opinion because I haven't given it. So as a dealer of Neptune, now that I'm a dealer of Neptune, I don't know how I feel specifically about the merger because I don't know what's going to happen and what's going to actually transpire for us dealers. But based on the conversations I've had with them, nothing's really changing for me. So I can still deal the products. My concern, however, is stock. Is BRS going to have all the stock? And us smaller dealers not. That's my that's my major concern about this whole situation. Um, I have to say that it was a shock. I didn't know anything about this. No one told anybody, of course. No one told their dealers. No one. Um, I've always liked bulk reef supply, but um, they are getting a little big. I don't know what's going on over there, but they are getting a little big. Um, so what do you think? I just wanted your opinion. I mean, what do
I,
you think?
I'm not a whole lot on it. I think the one thing that is going to be positive is their customer service. Having to wait 4 or 5 days to get something to get in to have a service tech talk with you about Apex. Your
Hmm.
system's down for 4 or 5 days. And you're kind of limping along for all that time. So I would imagine that's going to improve quite a bit when they bring in some more money, some more people to start really concentrating on that. That was one of the few flaws I found in Neptune was the services. It's really tough to get in for service. I know with me, if my tank goes down, I kind of want to fix it right now. You know, so I think
I
it'll
agree.
lead to probably better service.
I agree. Their service used to be a lot better, and I've talked to Terrence about this. Um, I don't know. I think it will get better with bulk reef supply in the mix now because their customer service is usually top notch. So I would presume it's going to carry over to Neptune, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
I got a comment on a couple things here that I want to talk to people about. Um, First of all, Harkin Aquatics is saying the skylight data is a bit shady. Look at Telegram's post. So, first of all, Telegram doesn't like Neptune. Never has, never will. I know him. I've spoke to him. He's not a Neptune fan. So anything he says about Neptune, I'm going to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? And I'm going to kind of just
Just brush it off and walk away.
brush it off. Yeah. Um, Sammy said, "Don't say the skies are bad. I've got 2 sitting here waiting to go." I could tell you guys, and I know you guys think I'm biased towards Neptune, which I understand why you think this. I have 2 skies, okay? Aaron has seen my tank, for instance. People have seen my tank. I've shown my tank. You can see it in the background a little bit. The skies are amazing. I don't know what to say to you guys other than, regardless of all this data and all this garbage, I don't care. Oh, well, this was made by some guy in China, and it was brought to this and this and that, and it was. I don't care. I don't care if they copied someone. I don't care if, the parts are made by some other guy. Who gives a shit? All I could tell you is I have 2 skies. I've had them from day one. My corals are exploding, okay? Now, let me also say that there is really very little shimmer to the lights. So if you like a shimmer, you're not going to like the lights. They're very T5 looking, okay? So again, it's a personal preference at that point. However, and I know it's hard to see in Aaron's tank, Aaron's tank looks like a fish tank. He's got the LEDs and it's blue, but again, it's hard to see he'd have to see it when he comes to my house. But when you look at the skylight, it looks like you're in the ocean. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's the only light I've ever had that makes it look like you're actually in the ocean. Now again, it's a personal preference. I have crap lights on my 300-gallon tank, right? I have some really crappy LEDs that I bought from God knows where, and it's just to light up my fish tank, right? And I love them, But anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because a lot of people are kind of saying some stuff. I haven't put out my review for my Sky yet. I'm waiting to use them a little bit more. But for now, I love my Sky. So if anyone's interested in buying them, I totally recommend them. They're extremely expensive, but I totally recommend them. So,
Well, the one thing about the Sky that I noticed is it's kind of like a Coral Care, the first version, just kind of revamped a little bit. So it's between the
yeah.
Coral Care original and the Coral Care 2 that they have out now. It's kind of like something sitting right in the middle from what I've seen of it. So, and Coral Care has been one of the most successful lights and growing, of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're building off of that, then it should be a really good light.
Right. And I totally agree. I mean, again, people are copying people. It's happening a lot more now. You're seeing a lot of companies copy other companies. I mean, let's be honest, it's happening a lot. But again, it all comes down to, I think, what's his name said it right here. Someone said about success. Sean Nelson. So many different products. There are just so many ways to achieve success. I totally agree with him. Everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their own success with different things. However, don't buy a reef bot. But anyways, you can get success with so many different products. And I've been very happy with my Sky. So I just wanted to mention that because Sammy was afraid that his Sky is going to suck, and I can tell you right now it's not going to suck.
Yeah, the advantage is if you have an Apex, they're plug and play. And again, if it's a copy of the Coral Care, I mean, they're a very successful light. So you have a light that's proven and it's plug and play. Whereas if it's a brand new light, Red Sea came with their lights. They were brand new and improved on all these other lights. And, their feedback I've gotten on those hasn't been that great.
Right.
The Coral Care already had that good feedback and reliable, growth from it in the past.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So anyway, let's see. What else did I want to ask you? Well, let's kind of talk about your tank. 6 months old. He doesn't have Neptune. He has, and he didn't tell me, of course.
I love hydro.
He didn't want to tell me. I remember he took a picture. He took a picture, guys, of his sump with a hydro sticker on it and sent it to me. And I was like, "What is this for?" Anyway.
Yeah, well, I had some issues with Apex, several times over the last year when I was setting this tank up. And I mean, one was a pretty big issue, and I was waiting for service. And you know what? I reached out to Coral View, and I said, all right, because everybody knows, if they know me, I was really harsh on the hydros, and it had had some time to be around, and I talked to a lot of people, and everybody that was running it said they love it, no issues. So it kind of got me second guessing what I had originally done. And I mean, I still stand with the points I originally stated on it, but it's actually starting to prove itself well. So I went ahead and tried it, and I can tell you it's been fantastic. Yeah, I got a 4 and a 2, and I don't know how many extra things I have on it. I got quite a bit. I'm not a Reef, I'm not a, I don't know, automation geek or anything, but I do like everything running with some type of safety. And so far, it's been really good. I've not really had anything go wrong. There was a few bugs before they sent out some of the patches or firmware updates or whatever they'd sent out, but other than that, I mean, it's been great.
Yeah, and people know. I know I get crap all the time, but people know I actually really like the hydros. I like it a lot. I like what they're doing over there. I like Carlos. I like what they're doing. Um, I just have no reason, like I have no reason to replace my $10,000 worth of Neptune equipment with a
Right.
hydros.
Just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. It
Right.
just had some kind of issue we were never able to resolve. I spent a lot of money and time on it, and I wasn't able to resolve it. And using their customer service, I still wasn't able to resolve it. So, I actually gave it away to somebody, and then I bought the hydros.
And that's the thing. I have 3 tanks. I have tons of Neptune equipment. I think I have 43 modules or something, right? For me to dump all that and go with hydros, it's going to cost me a lot of money. Let's be honest. I'm going to need a lot of controllers. I'm going to need a lot of new ports, a lot of new wiring. Um, and for me, Neptune has always worked, and I don't have any issues with it. So what's the point? But I get a lot of people like, "Why don't you have a hydros?" I go, "I do have a hydros. It's just I gave it to someone, and they're giving me feedback, right? Because I don't need it." But for people to say I don't love hydros, it's actually false. I love hydros. I think they're doing a great job. So, what if? Well, you just got the Mastertronic, so now you're going to be in heaven when you find out that your hydros can give you all of your information and read off of. That's really cool. I got to give them credit on that. So, what kind of stuff are you doing
Yeah.
for your tank automation, if anything?
Well, I'll go ahead and switch the camera over and walk through it here in a second.
Okay.
But I did see that Courtney asked about what my par levels were in my tank.
Okay.
At the very bottom on the glass, I'm running like 200, and on the top, I'm running anywhere from 250 to 300. So
Okay.
the entire tank is between 2 and 300. But I guess I can go through it here a little bit. Let me switch
Yeah.
this
Sure.
camera over.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
what's this tank? What's the size of it and everything?
The display tank is 180 gallons. It's a Pro Clear, which, I looked at a lot of tanks when I wanted to do this last build,
Mm-hmm.
and all I can say is a Pro Clear, there's really no tank that matches it outside of custom tanks. It's less than some of the Red Sea tanks. I'll see if I can get some
And
good
it's
shots
glass,
here.
right? I presume.
So, pardon me?
It's glass. It's a
Yes,
glass tank.
it's 3/4 inch glass, and it's probably the clearest glass I've ever seen on a factory tank.
Very
It's just
nice.
unbelievable. But let's see if I can get in there a little bit. I run a dual system back here for my pH. So I do have a scrubber back there. But on top of that, I also have another one before it because that collects any moisture that might get into my scrubber.
Oh, very cool.
And well, of course, I got a skim locker that I converted. I don't know if anybody's ever owned one of these Avast, but they come with this high tech pressure switch kind of thing. I just pulled it out and I put a little float in it. That little float goes to my skimmer. It clicks it. It shuts off my skimmer and gives me an alarm. And then, believe it or not, I really like the Jabeo wave makers that they have now. Years ago, when they weren't sine wave, they weren't that great.
Yeah.
They'd last a year, they'd crash. But I got one of them in here that's been in here. I've been using it for 4 years, never had an issue.
And
Well, maybe 3 years. It's when they
I
came out with the
convinced
sine wave.
you. I convinced you, I think, to get those Reef Octopus returns, didn't I?
Yes, and when I can save up enough money, that's my next move is to get the wave engine because I've heard just fantastic things about it. And then
Yeah.
I do want to get the Reef Octopus. The Reef Octopus wave makers are actually pretty good from what I've heard and have collected. But and
Mm.
here's the algae scrubber that I actually got from Derek. He had chopped it up trying to convert it, and it didn't work for him. So I actually converted it myself, a little shelf. And this is
Yeah,
actually where all my nutrient control is right here.
he's actually really good at doing stuff that I'm not good at. So I couldn't get that algae scrubber to work with my setup. I don't think I had enough room in my sump at the time to really do it right. So I went and got that 4 Square Aquatics algae scrubber. I absolutely love it. But again, it's really expensive. It looks like a big computer, but man, you've seen the growth on my algae scrubber. Like it works. Holy crap.
Yeah, and I get the same thing. The thing I like about an algae scrubber is that it's as easy to dial in as any kind of dosing you're doing. So if your nutrients are starting to get too low, just take an hour off of it. If they're
Mm.
getting too high, you can run it up to 16, even almost 18 hours, and it still runs well. But
And you
anyways,
got
my
me,
system is
yeah, you got me pretty much hooked on algae scrubbers. Like when I first met you, I didn't know much about them and all the nutrient issues I was having, and you totally sold me on. You and the guy from Santa Monica, I forgot his name,
yeah,
helped
I think
me.
it's Brian, but man, he's awesome. But as you can see, I
Yeah,
did plumb in another. I did have two separate systems. I got sick of chasing nutrient or two different systems. So as you can see, this one goes all the wiring for my tank is in the walls. All the plumbing is in the walls. That's why you didn't see a whole bunch of electrical. So you
that's
go
freaking
behind it. I
awesome.
have a bathroom right here.
That's so
So you
cool,
go into my
man.
bathroom here.
Oh, what's that? Wait,
Of course,
what's
I
that at
didn't
the
get that
bottom?
one.
Wait a second. Do I see a
Oh yeah,
Mastertronic? You son of a bitch.
look at that.
Sorry. What's that? A
But yeah, it comes through
Mastertronic.
the wall,
That's awesome.
and I tied two of my systems together.
Didn't
And
you
I
make
do
that
dose.
little
I'm in calcium reactor.
yeah, didn't you make that little black box yourself? Isn't that your dosers in that little black box? I'm sorry,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
interrupting a little bit.
no, you're fine. I didn't make that. I actually bought it from Custom Quotes or
Oh,
something.
okay.
The Now that the four extra dosers on the bottom, they're not being used right now because it was dosing my frag tank as well. So now I only use four of those dosers. But all I dose is Aquaforce 1, 2, 3, and then I'm a big fan of
Acropower,
Acro Power.
which is what I was doing
Yeah,
before I moved over to a calcium reactor. Exactly what you're doing. And yeah, Aaron's a big proponent of dosing. You know, he got me into dosing, and then I went back to calcium reactor because unfortunately, my consumption was just ridiculous with 3 clams and all the stuff. But I love how you have a little frag tank, and those are plumbed together, aren't they?
yeah, they're plumbed together. Now for lighting in here, I do have reef breeders in here, but I did go with the T5 because I get a lot of wild colonies, and I wanted the T5 in there. And then
Hmm.
it's not on, well, it's actually still on now, but I also have the additional UV light in there, and that's also the reef breeder light.
Sweet.
Let me move this around to get the computer going here.
That's
Then there's
awesome,
my
dude.
hydros controller. Yep. And of course, this isn't all complete, but then there's my hydros, which I actually like the hydros. I like the look of it when the lights are off in here. It just has that nice little blue glow.
Lee is
If
asking,
I can get it.
did you say you bought a power meter or brought your power meter to the ocean to match your tank? Isn't that what you said? I don't recall.
What was that?
Did you see, Lee was asking, did you bring your power meter to the ocean to match your tank? Is that what you did? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I wanted to learn the cycle of how the light works naturally.
Okay.
So I live right by it. I mean, I'm less than a quarter mile from the actual ocean itself. Well, I live by the Gulf, but yeah, I
Hmm.
can see the water from my house. So what I did was I just went out in my backyard and tested because I'm getting the same sunlight as the Gulf. And one
Ah,
thing that I noticed that a lot of people are doing, lot of people do the fade where they fade the lights in and out all day and storm clouds. And if anybody lives by the ocean, real close to the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
you don't actually have this clouds over the Gulf.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't fade mine in and out to make up for, see if I get my camera turned here again.
Yep, you're good.
But I don't fade my lights in and out and have storm clouds throughout the day. I give them what they normally get here because, I mean, from a lot of months, I'll see clouds north of me, but south of me is the Gulf, and the light really doesn't change much. Now,
Mm-hmm.
once in a while, I'll do a full 1 or 2 day blackout to resemble like a storm that had come through and kind of give the coral a rest from all the light. But
yeah, that's pretty uncommon. You know, a lot of no people really do that. I mean, I know that the sky has some type of cloud coverage thing. I haven't even tried it yet. I don't even know what it does.
Yeah.
I guess I could try it and see what it does. But let's see.
Now,
Sammy,
like, this system right
a
here is
question too.
this system's like 6 months right now. I set it up, and the original water I put in this tank is still there. It's never had a water change. And I'm
Awesome.
not telling people not to do water changes, but you do water changes if you need them. Well, Aquaforce 123 actually gives me absolutely everything, including the minor trace elements. So those have all come out really good, and my nutrients have been controlled since the day I started the tank. You know, when I first started it, I'm a big fan of using muriatic acid to clean your rocks of anything bad in it and then starting from scratch. I know a lot of people like to buy live rock. You never really know what's in that rock. You know,
That's
and
right.
one thing I've seen, and we used to have a place here where they did tank maintenance, and they tore a lot of tanks down. Well, that live rock went in a bin, and they sold it as live rock. Well, why do people normally tear a tank down? Because they're frustrated, and they've been just letting it go for months, and they're finally, hey, I want to get rid of this tank. I'm done with it.
Right.
So why would you want to put that rock in your tank?
You don't.
You know, now there is some cured out in the Gulf or whatever. See, there's places here at the Gulf of Mexico where they cure it. But I mean, you might bring in some pests that you don't want in your tank or anything. I'm just a fan of starting my own ecosystem on the tanks that I do.
Mm-hmm.
That way I know what's in my tank.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions I'm going to ask real quick here. Sammy is asking, which is going to go into the next question. Sammy's asking, isn't the Mastertronic kind of poor for test quality since it uses basically any off-the-shelf kits, or Trident is more tighter, trusted test? So I'm gonna say something about it, and then I don't know if you have a comment on it, but the Trident tests 3 things. It tests your alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. And yes, they use their own reagent, and it's very, very precise and accurate. Whereas the ReefBot or the Mastertronic will use the same test kits, right, off of the shelf. But how many people out there are using their Mastertronic for testing alkalinity, right? I don't know how many people are doing that. I wouldn't, personally. People are going to buy Mastertronics generally, or ReefBots. Hopefully I don't buy ReefBots. But they're going to buy them to test phosphate and nitrate and things that are cumbersome to test. You know, alkalinity is easy to test. Let's be honest. You take a Hanna checker, you put it, you're done. Aaron, I don't know what you're going to do, but
I'll go ahead. I'm still going to test alkalinity on it and compare. But, you know, when it goes back to that, a reagent's a reagent. The problem that we usually have is our eyes don't always read it the same every time.
Right.
But, you know, a reagent, normally there's a color change or some kind of, you know, clarity change that's red, whether it's Trident or Mastertronic or an off-the-sea Red Sea, you know, test kit, they all basically work the same. So being able to use off the shelf, I haven't run it, so I can't tell you the accuracy, but from some of the people I've talked to, they're getting nearly identical as what their ICPs are coming in, even on alkalinity.
Right.
So I'd like to have it test all 5 things, all 5 majors.
And
yeah, right now I rarely.
And to Sammy's question, I mean, and I say this all the time, how essential is it if it's right dead on accurate? It's really not that important. You just want to look for trends. Alkalinity, I would say, is important, but the rest, who cares if your magnesium is off by 10? You know, who cares if your calcium's off by 15? It's not going to affect anything, you know. Your phosphate's off by 1, yeah, that's a big deal. But generally,
it's all about stable numbers.
Yeah, it's not going to be a big deal. Someone asked about, well, I wanted to comment, the to Adam Moore, the Mastronic and Reefbot are 100% not the same. They might look the same and they might act the same. Trust me, they are not the same. But essentially, they do the exact same thing.
The build quality is amazing on the Mastertronic. I mean, it is built really well from what I can see versus what I've seen in the Reefbot.
And also, the Mastronic tests, from my understanding, 30%, I believe, is the number faster than the Reefbot. So that's another big difference.
Yeah.
Someone asked about your live rock comment again. They asked, what did you say you used instead of live rock? I know what it is, but I wanted to just reiterate that again because that's a big thing.
I actually did a really big write-up for it, and I think you were going to plug that into somewhere into here.
It's in the description. Yes, it's in the description.
I use muriatic acid to completely clean the rocks. And it's not a funny story, but we actually had something a couple of weeks ago that explains why it's kind of important to do this. I had a friend that's had a tank for, I don't know, I think it's like 3 or 4 months. And in that 3 or 4 months, that tank kept crashing. Couldn't figure out why. I finally, convinced him to try an ICP. Well, the ICP was showing high metals. We could not figure out why it had high metals. He said everything was good in the tank. So it just so happened that he got a really bad breakout of velvet in his tank.
Oh.
So ran over there and went ahead and tore his tank down and got all the fish out. And we were able to save over half the fish. And I mean, this was the worst outbreak I've seen. Fish were almost 100% covered. But anyways, back to the rock. As we were going through the rock, as we were pulling it out, we were looking at them. And we noticed there was some kind of bolt or metal that was inside of that rock. And see, the thing is, when you get your rock that's been mined, the alkalinity in your tank's not the same as what it is in the ocean. So when you get this rock, there's always a layer, some type of layer on it that you can't see past. If you've ever seen what muriatic acid does to a rock, it completely changes how the rock looks. I mean, you're looking at 10 to sometimes 20% loss of weight because it's removing all this buildup that's been on that rock. But if you put it in your tank, that buildup still slowly erodes over time. So what happened with that rock was it eroded over time and it exposed that metal. Where if we would have muriatic acid washed that rock, we probably would have seen the metal in it.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you bring up the metal thing because I was having a ton of issues in my tank, and you specifically told me to look at what was it? Marine Pure? Was that what it? Marine Pure balls or something, or blocks?
Oh, yeah, it might have been the media hold.
Yeah, so yeah, I know, stupid camera. We know you had, I don't remember if it was both of us or what happened, but I had Marine Pure blocks and I had a ton of them, and I went and sent my stuff out to ICP.
Oh, yeah.
And we had all this nickel and all of this aluminum, tons of aluminum.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? I took those out and I put some carbon and some polyfilter in, and went away. Completely went away. And then I started using, which I think I recommended to you, was the Max Spec instead. So I used the Max Spec. I haven't had aluminum since at all.
And I'll tell you the thing, I love the Max Spec, and a lot of people claim something or don't claim something. See, I don't use the bricks, I use the little spheres because they're rated like 10 gallons per sphere. The thing I like about them is like when I was starting this tank, if my nutrients were too low, I just pulled one out and then I'd test a week later. And it's really easy because you can either put some in or pull some out, and they're really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've used everything that there is out there, and every tank I set up now actually gets those in it.
Yeah, I have. I think I sent you one, if I remember. I think I sent you a block or something.
Yeah, you sent me some bricks of them.
Yeah, I have it in my nano tank. I have it in my 300, and I have it in. I think they're fantastic. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it's keeping my tank pretty happy. So.
Yeah, I guess they've been used in sewage treatment for a really long time before they started manufacturing to actually be used in aquariums. But yeah, every tank I do gets them now. And I tested them for about a year before I started putting them in other tanks.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed. They actually work really good. It's one of the products that I really give a thumbs up for.
Terrific. Yeah, I think it's, at least in my case, it's really helped in some form to reduce nutrients in the higher nutrient systems like my 300. I do have an algae scrubber on it, but I can keep my nutrients at a good level once I throw those in. They don't get out of control. Which is great. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about your. We talked about it a little bit, but um, your hydros. What's the word I'm looking for? Man, I'm out of it. Your hydros experience thus far. I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit. What have you done? I know you mentioned a little bit. You showed us a little bit, but is there anything you've been doing? Anything you see that you like that they're making? Any? Because I want to talk about automation of hair with you, even though you're not a automation geek like I am. Is there anything
Right.
cool you're looking for? Anything you want to do? Anything that Derek has to get
I kind
involved?
of have it set up how I like. I kind of have it set up how I like it. I might add some lights to my cabinets so when I open the doors, the hydros can turn them on, turn them off. Since the power bars can be run wirelessly, I do want to start setting those up on my RODI that's all the way out in the garage,
Oh,
since I don't have to
nice.
run wires to it. So I'd like to automate that a little bit. Everything else, I mean, it's just so simple to run.
Mhm.
Simple things. Like my frag tank, I have a UV. It feeds UV into the tank through the UV and then into the frag tank. That's where my return line goes. And I just want to tell it, hey, if this pump shuts off, shut UV off. And just simple things. And I mean, it's all just drop down menus. I've not had to go in and try to do any code on anything. I got simple things like your return pump shut off, shut skimmer off. Just the simple commands that most, like 95% of us use, is basically the stuff I'm doing. I have my auto top off. I have two pumps in there. If you saw that, I
Uh-huh.
got two different floats in there. So if one of the pumps quits, the other one will kick on.
Yeah, he's nothing
So
like
and
me,
it,
guys. Not even close. Like he's very basic and simple. So I think the Hydros is actually a really good choice for him over anything else.
right.
Because I was going to bring up this earlier. You won a GHL, didn't you? On one of my
Oh yeah,
streams.
yeah. I actually won one on one of your streams, and I
And what did you
we
do with
talked a
that
lot while you were doing those
GHL?
series. Well, when you were doing that series, you and I talked quite a bit,
We
and I
did.
think we even screen shared for a while, and you showed me a lot of the stuff, and I
Hmm.
tried to help figure some of that out. And I'm not a knock on GHL; their build quality is superior to anything built. But if you don't have the firmware or software to back that up, there's no way I could remember all that stuff. Because I remember when you were doing some programming for feeding or whatever it was, I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember that when I go back to fix that. I mean, if I'm feeding, I want to say feeding. I don't want to have to search for some phrase or write down a phrase. Got to
Right.
look through a book to find the phrase that I had to program that off of.
Hmm.
So yeah, when I wanted, I said, Derek, just keep it. So yeah, I actually sent it back to him. I didn't accept it. I could have accepted and sold it, but that wouldn't have been right. But yeah, I just it wasn't something that I was willing to mess with after
Yeah,
going so far in depth with most
that's the
of it.
thing is I've said this a lot on my channel. I did that huge 15 episode YouTube thing, and I went through every little thing on the GHL. And to this day, I still get people at me with the GHL, like, "Why don't you like GHL? Why don't you like GHL?" I'm like, "Did you watch my 15 videos on why I don't like it?" Um, it's just so difficult. Once they fix that, it'll be a really good product. But until then, I can't tell someone to go out and get a GHL. It's just too difficult to use. And especially for you, Aaron, who's not a big computer nerd like I am and not into
Right,
automation, if you had that, your hair would you would just if you just had to make a simple change, you would be going nuts. You'd be spending hours trying to figure out one little thing. And now you got a Hydros, you just click
right,
two buttons and you're done, you know? I mean, how
right.
hard is
And I'll
that,
go
right?
once here. Yeah, we'll go in there and look at it real quick. I'll show you how simple it is. Um, See if I can hold this without dropping it in the water.
Yeah, don't do that.
So right here is basically what I have. The camera's got a little bit of delay, so it's hard to find it.
It's okay.
Okay, so there's what I'm running right now. You can see some of them are shut off. I still have some from the frag tank still set up on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pH aren't right. I gotta actually fix that too. But hey,
And it's
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 showing it's about
interesting
8.
that you're showing us that because funny enough, Neptune has now developed a new app which I think some of you guys have seen that is very similar to this. Now, it's not the same, but it's very similar. It's got circles instead of squares. to make it very easy for people. So I appreciate everyone trying to make it simple. You know,
And it is a nice, clean look too. And I like the different flashes, and I like the breathe features on the controllers. It's actually really neat.
right?
And then you just click on them, and you can just click whatever you want on there. I mean, it's just so simple. It's plug and play, and it's new. So I mean, I was really worried about what kind of issues I was going to have since it was new,
Mm-hmm.
and I did wait for a while. That I was pretty hard on it when it came out because I was concerned about. But so far, it's been extremely good.
Someone had a real quick question. I have an answer. I just want to ask you. Uh, what someone asked, is it important to have a refugium? Not a refugium. I think someone asked if it's more important to have a sump, if I recall that was. Maybe they said refugium. Either way, is it important or do you need a sump? I think is what they asked. That was the question.
Well, consider this: my tank is a glass bottom. Both tanks are glass bottoms. I don't have any. The only media that runs this tank, I don't have a refugium. If you recall, when I was showing underneath the algae scrubber, all I run is Miracle Mud, and then I also run those spheres, and that's it. I mean, I've got like 285 gallons I'm doing here, and the only thing filtering that is properly cycled rock and those little spheres. And again, I'm 6 months, and I haven't had to do a water change because I started it out properly.
Mm.
So, I mean, you can run refugiums, which a lot of people like them, but I wanted this clean look that I'm running. But I want even more so that's reliable. I can change my nutrients in a heartbeat. If I start seeing it creeping up, I'll throw an extra couple spheres in there and dose some bacteria and let them fill in. But the main thing on mine, I believe, is just because I did the rock properly. Your rock should be able to handle your whole system. And again, I'm 6 months into a glass bottom, and normally they say the first year is the hardest. I mean, I rarely even test my tank. For trace elements, I'm dosing 280 milliliters of each part a day right now. So yeah, that's quite a bit, but I buy it bulk and I make it so, and then I use the BRS dosers, which are just dead reliable.
Yeah.
But for nutrients, if they go up or down, I've got an algae scrubber take care of nutrients, and I got a lot of good rock that was cycled properly. And again, that's on Humblefish forums. If you go there, I do, and I think Derek's going to put it into the chat somewhere, or
it's in the
video description.
Yeah, it's in the video description. And it's funny you mention that because I have tried to do a refugium, and the biggest problem I had with a refugium for me was the amount of junk that got in there. Like just all kinds of crazy stuff growing, all kinds of weird stuff. You get all kinds of like weird things going, and then just to clean it out and get into my other chamber, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. What I love about the algae scrubber is it's all contained into one box. You don't have to, it's clean, it looks nice most of the time. It's very easy to clean, guys. I mean, it takes me, I don't know about you, but it takes me 15 minutes to clean it and then put it right back if you're diligent.
Simple. I just turn it full the screen and I can clean it in less than a minute, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's so easy to clean up. But like you're hitting on, I've seen some refugiums that are massive. And I do like that natural type, but I wanted something that was very simple. So you think of a refugium, if you had just this massive refugium, it's full of chaeto. That chaeto is always changing in size. Mm-hmm. It's always holding different amounts of detritus. The bigger it gets, the more detritus. But some starts slowing down on how much. So I've seen refugiums just completely packed with chaeto. But once it's so packed, it has nowhere to grow. Then it starts slowing down on how much it's actually consuming in nutrients. But your consumption is always changing based on the size of your refugium or how much detritus is built up in this corner. So I mean, there's that. For me, the algae scrubber is just more stable. And 100%. And again, I'm a stable junkie.
It's 100% stable. You have adjustment ability with how much your lights are on, how big your screen is. I mean, there's so much adjustments people don't realize to make that thing dialed in. My algae scrubber is dialed in. I mean, I don't ever test anymore. Well, obviously I have things to test, but I don't need to. It's like everything's stable. Once it's stable, there's no reason.
It's funny. I feed the same amount of food every day. I feed frozen twice a day, and it's food that I make, and then I feed pellets in the middle of the day. But it's kind of funny. I feed exactly the same amount, same gram weight and everything. I hadn't tested my phosphate until 2 days ago in a month. And that's really bad to
Right.
say that, but
But
I
why
was like,
should you?
I know
Everything's
I've been
going
at this
good.
for a long time, so I'm kind of familiar with what my core will look like if I need to change something or something's going
Mhm.
on in the tank. And I wouldn't recommend people go that long, but I've been busy and just I'll say I've been
Especially
lazy.
newer
But
reefers, especially newer
right, you
reefers.
should always test and know what your changes are until you're familiar with your tank. But at some point, your tank becomes pretty stable. The only thing that changes on mine is you see that big bird's nest on top. I mean,
Mhm.
that thing has like tripled in size in a month.
Jeez.
It just grows like mad.
Birds nose
But
nests grow, man. They grow.
right, but I
Um,
know as it's growing, I need to keep an eye on alkalinity.
right. Alkalinity is really the only thing you should be testing every day. I mean, you really should. I think you should be testing it every day because if that drops or that goes up, you'll have a wipeout. I mean, I've had a tank wipeout because my alkalinity just went up by 2 points all of a sudden, and then all my acros were dead. So I've had that happen. So I recommend everyone testing alkalinity at least once a day, just to kind of check it. I want to
Yeah.
mention a couple questions here. First thing is, I am using a 4-square aquatics. I have two of them. I love them to death. Aaron knows my whole scrubber story. He can mention it. I'm not going to mention it. I went through a Clearwater scrubber, and then I got a 4-square. I love the 4-square. There's a drawer. You just pull the drawer out and you clean the drawer. I mean, how simple is that? It grows like mad. It's super easy to use. I love it to death.
The
Um,
simplicity in design. I see somebody ask what one I'm using. I'm using the Rain 4.
mhm,
I just like it because it's a simple design. And nothing against Foursquare or anybody, but Brian, I believe is named the guy that owns the company. He makes all of his LEDs for that.
mhm,
And over the years, well, you probably know too, and a lot of people know, I've built dozens and dozens of different designs on algae scrubbers.
mhm.
And on this one, I was going to build one, but I wanted that cover that he's got, and it fit perfect for my design. But his LEDs, nothing has come close to those when it comes to growth. I
Mhm.
mean, they're the perfect wavelength, and they're built to go underwater. I've never had one die yet, but I haven't had them that long. I think I got the first ones from you like 2 years ago. But
I've
it's the safest one out there too because it's sealed.
Right. I've seen people use the Neptune grow lights inside algae scrubbers. I've seen that. Just to say, but
Okay,
yes,
I've seen
and
those
those
yet.
are yeah, and those are also technically submergible, I guess. um, Uptown Reefer had a really good statement, and I'm gonna reply to it, and then I'll have you reply to it. All the weird stuff in refugium is mostly beneficial from my perspective. It might be weird for us, but it's likely part of a total comprehensive system. Correct? Or no? I say absolutely. That's absolutely correct. However, you're going to be sticking your hands in that sucker. So do you want that stuff to get on your hands? Do you want that stuff to, who knows? All I can say is the algae scrubber, I pull a drawer and I clean it. I don't have to touch anything. The refugium, cleaning it is a pain in the ass for me. But you're absolutely correct. I think you hit the nail right on the head. The refugium is part of the ecosystem, whereas the algae turf scrubber can also be considered the same thing. It does the same thing. It's just enclosed in a
See, now
box.
I do mine a little bit different, and I have nothing against refugiums. I always ran refugiums until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I started switching over to algae scrubbers a little more, and I like an algae scrubber because of the simplicity. It's reliable, and nothing. I'm like again, I'm a stability freak. I anal
Mm-hmm.
about having everything stable. Again, when your refugium grows, you got to pull out Chaeto, or else you start going downhill. But when you pull out that Chaeto, most people pull out 50 to 75% of it. Well, your system just lost 50 to 75% of that ecosystem. So now it's
That's
got to
right.
build back in. So there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to say that that's a bad way to go. But for me personally, I like having that part of it always being the same stable, part of my system.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you pull it out, I mean, something's got to give. You're taking out a lot of stuff that's got to come back. So there's that little wave where it goes up and down and up and down, you know, so yeah,
And
for me, I,
stability
I
is
just like my
key.
rock to do most of it.
Yeah, and stability is key, as you said. Jim Harkins. I have a Reef Savvy shallow mixed tank, majority of LPS softy, a few SPS. 48 by 24 by 18. That is the same size of my tank. So absolutely two skies. to answer your question. I always say to people that always are asking about lights that get lights for the lifetime of the tank. Don't get lights for a month. And I say that in a way of saying, if you have softies right now and you only have softies and you're saying to yourself, I'm never going to get acros, that's a lie. Eventually
Right.
you are going to want to try different corals. If you bought lights for your softies and didn't buy lights for your acroporas or higher, you know, then you're not going to be happy to have to replace your lights. So I always recommend getting the right lights the first time, every time, so you don't have to swap them, you know. So I think that was Jim Harkins. Yes, get 2 skies. Don't get 1 sky. Get enough light that's going to light your whole tank and give you a nice high power level where you need it right off the bat. That's what I think. What do you think? I think the same thing.
Yep. Basically what you said.
Yeah.
I always plan for changes down the road. Like said, a new reefer is like, oh, I just want softies, but just playing. Not to say that people aren't or are definitely going to upgrade someday either, though. So, I'm one of those, like the way you see my tank. I started out with this lighting system because I knew one day that I would have to add more or make changes.
Mm-hmm. So a couple other questions. John Rose. I have heard a couple problems with this, but he's saying that his AI primes don't work really well with Fusion. You know, the IOTA is pretty rock solid, but it's all dependent on your network. So if your network isn't rock solid, which I was going to actually talk to Aaron about wireless in a little bit, but your network needs to be rock solid for IOTA to work. And what I mean by rock solid, you have to have a stable Wi-Fi signal where the light is. You have to have a stable, connection to your Fusion. I always recommend hardwired. But I haven't heard any issues, John, other than people with bad networks having issues. So that's on that. Insane Reefers asking us the best runtime to keep your algae scrubber light stable for nutrient export. Now that's a tough question because every tank's going to be different.
Yeah.
Now me and Aaron had to go back and forth about this. How many hours? I think I started at 18, and I'm down to like 10 or 12 now.
Right.
Because that was way too much. And that's what was causing a lot of my corals not to color up because there was no nutrients. So my recommendation, I think Aaron will agree, is start low maybe and then increase. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I always start them about 10 hours, 12 hours, depending. If they have really high nutrients, I might start it at 12 just so it gets the algae started on it. And
Uh-huh.
just like anything, if you start dosing your tank, it takes a little bit to find out where your tank needs to be. And I mean, it's going to take a lot of testing too. Every couple of days, test and see if there's change. Until you
Mhm.
see algae on your screen, anyways, there's not much you can do. So in the beginning, I like to start a little high. I wouldn't run 24 hours because you'll just kill whatever algae's trying to start and seed on the
Yeah.
on the screen. But I normally tell everybody start at 12 hours and just see where it goes. And you want to follow the trend. So the one thing I've seen people do is say you got 0.1 phosphates. You want to get down to 0.05. Well, they start out at like 18 hours, and
Hmm.
because they're trying to get rid of it right now. Give it time. Stuff takes time. And if you see a trend going down at 12 hours, just keep it at 12 hours. But once
Right.
you get really close to the number you want, then start backing off to 10, maybe even down as low as 8. Yeah, I think I'd have to look. I think mine's running at maybe 8 hours right now.
Yeah, algae scrubbers, by the way, guys, are extremely efficient at pulling. So you have to be
Oh,
really
yeah.
careful. If you have that thing running 24 hours, it's not only going to pull everything, but the algae needs time to relax for it to grow properly. But you have to be really careful because it will strip your tank. It will, and I am, trust me, that's how I met Aaron basically, is because I was stripping my tank. And I didn't realize I was stripping my tank because I would test and it would be like zero point 0.03 or zero point 0.04 phosphate, right? And my nitrates were like 1, and I was like, this is perfect. Well, no, what was happening is my algae scrubber was stripping so much that leftover wasn't enough for my tank to thrive because I had so many corals and so many things going on in that tank, you know. So yeah, you got to be really careful with algae scrubbers. Now that you mention that, and the 24-hour things that you mentioned is funny because someone told me 24 hours is fine, and I realized it's not. You know.
Yeah, you'll
Uh,
find out that it's falling off of your screen or turning yellow if you're trying to run 24 hours a day.
yep.
You know, in the beginning, it might not, but eventually it'll just start killing it.
Right. Oh, we know what we never did. We never figured out what we're giving away today. We we
Oh,
we
you know
we
what?
have a
I got an idea.
contest,
So,
and I was going to give away a gift card, but we never figured out what.
okay, so I got an idea here, and you have a store, and
I
it wouldn't
do.
be right for you to say, "Hey, I'm just going to give my store." I'll tell you what, you're giving away 50. I'll add 50 to that. Let's do a gift card to your store.
Okay.
It just seems right. I mean, and this is me. This is what I always do to Derek, anyways. But yeah, let's give $100 away to your gift to your store.
All right. Cool. Well, guys, my store has a lot of Neptune, and my store has some swag. Lots of swag. I got to make some more stuff. By the way, guys, I am in the process of editing my Georgia aquarium video that you guys are going to see, which was the most amazing time of my life. And I'm excited to show you guys what I did there. And their coral reef, I'm going to show you what they do, all their equipment with their coral reef. And they are running Ecotech. Everything's Ecotech over there. They're running MP40s. They got like, holy cow, you should see how many MP40s they have. And I saw the largest protein skimmer I've ever seen in my life. And it's, if I recall what they told me, and I don't believe it for a second, but I have a picture of it. It is, I think they said 20 feet high by something like, I think it was like 30 feet. The cup itself is 30 feet. Like, it's insane. Anyway, I'm excited to show you guys that. I have pictures of all of it, and I have a
Yeah.
video of all of it. And of course, if you guys don't know, I got to swim with whale sharks, which was freaking the most amazing time of my life, guys. It really was. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so we'll give away a $100 gift card to my store. That's awesome, man. Thank you for pitching in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Unlike the other Aaron, who
Yeah. Next
wants
time,
freebies every time he's here.
so you need
Since
some swag
I
like this. This is one of our local stores that I really like. But look at this. Look at this shirt.
Speaking of which,
Always
let's
great.
plug your group. It's I'm sorry, I don't know it because I'm here in Arizona.
See, we only do local. Try to keep the drama out, and we have a really good local community here. I mean, we're not a big area. I live in Northwest Florida. I live in Navarre, Florida, and I started out a reef club, and I figured, we might get 40 or 50 guys, girls, and just kind of some people helping each other out. Because I mean, I was so swamped that I couldn't keep up, and I was really hoping to find some other people to help out new reefers. And now we're at 900 people.
Wow.
Right, almost 900, but it's unbelievable. Our reefing community here is just great. I have some great shops around here. I'm going to put in a plug. One of our locals does really cheap auctions. It's Salty Aquatics VIP Lounge. If you're on Facebook, look him up. He throws some auctions that are absolutely cheap, and most of my coral in my tank actually came from him. He's got a
Cool.
killer little shop here local, but the quality and the price is just insane. So I mean, it's not doing a bad plug or anything, but I just really recommend him. But
Mm,
anyways, our local area is great. We have some huge tanks around here. Some of the best reefers I've seen around.
that's
But yeah,
that's
we're
I
Northwest
wish,
Florida Reef Keepers.
man, I wish Arizona was that big. I mean, I know there's a lot of reefers here in Arizona. I just personally I haven't found a good store to go to. You know me, I buy all my corals from one place. I buy all my fish from one place. That's always been my mantra forever. I don't I stick with
Yeah,
what I know I'm going to get quality every time because I've always got quality every time. Now, other people will disagree with me. I buy all of my fish, every single one of them, from Live Aquaria Divers Den. I've never bought any other fish from anywhere else. And every one of my fish guys is still alive, doing great, never had a single issue with, never had any problems with it. The only time I had one fish with an issue was my Achilles tang, which had ick. And guess what? I didn't get it from Divers Den. The only one time I didn't get a fish from Divers Den. Now, a lot of people yell at me like Live Aquaria sucks, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what you guys all say. For me, That's always been where I get all my all my fish. I'll get all my corals from Top Shelf Aquatics in Florida. Yes, they're expensive, but they're always quality. They always look like the picture that they send, and they all do very well. And I've never had any pests on them. And that's what I'll continue to do.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows I'm a proponent of, QT and
Yep.
really watching your fish no matter where they come from. But I hear a lot of good things about Divers Den because they do observe their fish for some time. But if there's like uranema or some issues with the fish that's underlying, you don't always see that. But I think they do a pretty good job trying to watch their fish stock or whatever they have. The only thing I'd add though, Humble Fish is working on a new dipping process that if you don't want to do 2 weeks of QT or a month of QT and have a whole different system set up for one fish, he's working on a new setup for a quick dip that you can basically dip the fish and put them in your tank. And it's actually what I've been using. It's a hydrogen
Really?
peroxide and then an NFP dip following. It's something we kind of both stumbled on while I was doing some fish not too long ago. And now they're really testing it. But I mean, it's two 45-minute dips and then in the tank. And I've actually been using on my own fish just because actually my QT system's out at somebody else's house right now. But it's very promising. But if you're going to put fish in your tank, no matter where it came from, this simplifies it and gives you a little bit more line of security when you're putting the fish in. I look forward to it because I think they're pretty close to actually having the testing completed and calling it very reliable. I did enough fish to where I'm extremely pleased with it. That one tank I told you about that had that severe outbreak of velvet.
Yeah.
We actually did the double dip before we put them into QT, and I believe that's what saved all those fish.
Wow.
And if you catch velvet too late, normally the fish are all going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
This was an overnight thing, and fish should have all been dead, and we got lucky. Some of them could barely swim. We took them out. We did the double dip, and they went into QT, and they made it. So, I mean,
That's
check out
fantastic.
Humble Fish for them.
By the way, guys, Humble Fish, guys, you got to check out his forum for anything fish disease. Hell, just check it out, for anything. There he is. He's in the chat. I didn't even know he was in here. So yeah, check his stuff out, man. He saved my Achilles tang when it had ick, with Aaron, of course. If you guys don't remember, I had to take every fish out of my tank because Aaron, this guy, told me you have to take every fish out of your tank. I said, no effing way. And he's like, yes, you have to take every fish out of your tank. What did we do? We took every fish out of our tank. What happened? Every fish survived. Every fish doesn't have ick now, and my Achilles tank didn't have ick, and it was fine because I followed exactly what Aaron and Humble Fish told me. So top notch, guys, for QT and just fish saving, I guess. But for me to avoid all that, I get the same fish from the same place, and I get the same corals from the same place. And, knock on wood, I've been very successful every time I get something from them. Every time. Gary's asking, can you incorporate hydros with the Apex? You cannot do that. I would assume Apex would have to open up some API to hydros. Their direct competition. And I don't think they would want to do that. It just doesn't make sense. But I see your point, Gary. Whereas we all feel the opposite way about our Neptune communicating with hydros. I would love to be able to have a TDS meter. I would love to be able to integrate my Mastertronic with it. There's things at the Apex I would love to integrate with hydro stuff, but you can't. So it's a double-edged sword.
Oh, one thing that I was going to mention when you were talking about wireless, I know you were going to ask me about that a little bit.
I did want to ask you about that.
I think wireless is okay. Hydros kind of fix the issues you may have with the wireless. If you lose your wireless, you can use Bluetooth to connect to it. That's the one downfall I ever saw was you lose complete control if you do lose Wi-Fi. I mean, I have an extra router here. If my router goes down, I'll just pop another one in. But internet goes down, then you lose the cloud. But this way, you still have control of it through Bluetooth, which is that was one thing I didn't like about GHL either, because it was full Wi-Fi. And hey, if your internet's down for 2 or 3 days, which it depends where you live, that could happen. But now I have Bluetooth, so when it goes down, I switch over to Bluetooth, so I got control. I mean, you can't do any programming through Bluetooth, but you still have control of your whole system still.
Yeah, see, I had the first iteration of the hydros. If you don't remember, I bought one for a giveaway when they first came out for people, and I think I got one for myself at the same time. And I had tons of issues with their wireless power bar, but I know they fixed all of them, which is awesome.
They're quick about fixing things there. I'll
Yeah,
give them that. And if you follow them on Facebook on the Hydros page,
I
they're
do.
always talking. Their feedback is unbelievable. I mean, if there's people having issues, the core review people are there almost immediately to try to
Mm-hmm.
walk them through, but they're learning through everything they're reading on there and they're interacting with people. That's why, and that's why I held off on the Hydros in the beginning and why I was kind of harsh on it because, you know, it just seemed like there's going to be a lot of issues. And in the past, most of these other companies do not back their product up quite like they do. But like I said, core reviews kind of changed in how they work now and they're interacting with customers. And I think I've had 3 or 4 firmware updates. And I mean, the original firmware I had worked great, but
Mm-hmm.
they just keep on adding firmware updates that are fixing things and adding things. And so, yeah, for the amount of time Hydros has been out, they have progressed very fast for a new product.
Yeah, like I said, I have nothing bad to say about them. The original. I think I have a video out there with my original take from the first moment it came out, and I think that video might need to be changed because they have changed a lot since that first video. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
and I'm in the same boat. I agree.
and I would love and appreciate a gift card. Of course you would, Gary, like everybody else, man. That's why we give them away. If you entered, I don't know if you entered, buddy. You might have been too late to the party. You got to be here from the beginning. As what I was saying about the wireless power bars or anything wireless scares me. And I get what you're saying about the Bluetooth. I understand everything you're saying, and I agree with you. My tank, very similar to your tank. Maybe my tank is a little bit different. Um, he knows if you ask, you win. That's true. That has always happened. Um, I got a lot of money invested in my tank, which you do too. I'm not saying you don't. But I have 3 tanks. I have a lot of money invested in my tanks, a lot of coral, a lot of stuff. I just could never in my I just could never in my right mind put a return pump on a wireless power bar. I just can't.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't lose its settings. So, I mean, it's still running the way it should. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you lose internet, what happens?
If with my Apex,
Like, yeah. See, that's
it
what my problem
still
was. If I had
it
any
still
glitch in my
runs like
internet,
normal.
mine had a problem connecting back to the internet. Is what my issues
Mm-hmm.
were with the Apex. But with the Hydros, I can still log in. But it's same with if you lose anything on the Apex that's wired, you lose internet, you're still running. These don't change either, even though the Apex is controlling the power bar or the power bar is controlling
Mm-hmm.
whatever it's connected to.
Let me. I
The
think I
wireless
don't
is still
know.
the same. You're just not making changes to it.
Let me rephrase what I'm going to say. I don't know if you're at the stream when I talked about this. This is my concern. My concern isn't that it's going to lose internet, nothing's going to happen. Okay, it's not my concern that if I don't know your power goes out, you're not that the or not the power, sorry, that your Wi-Fi goes out, that it's going to do something funky. That's not my concern. Being in the business that I'm in, and I'm a network IT professional, and I install programming and all kinds of stuff. I see tons and tons of wireless instability. Now, the wireless instability I see is generally interference. It's not, some type of weird thing going on. I'm sorry, the wireless just disappearing. What I mean by that is if you have a neighbor next door that's on the same channel, okay, and they have a microwave that they bought in China, and that microwave, when you turn it on, let's just say, again, this is completely a big example, that it sends a packet through the wireless on the same channel that happens to be on your power bar. Let's just say, okay? I've seen things like that in my profession where someone will hit a button on their remote control that's wireless and it will turn on something at their neighbor's house because it's on
The
the
thing
same
is, though, it
channel.
still has to go through Hydros to send the commands.
We don't,
I
well,
don't think you could.
eh, it's still,
I don't think you could change it on there without going through the proper. Because I mean, it's not just going to be one signal going to it. There's several steps that you have to do to make changes. And that's the thing. Like when you're on Bluetooth, you can't even make changes. I mean, you got
mhm.
control, but you can't make changes.
Well,
So I think
control,
maybe years
the
ago that
control,
might have been, but I don't think it is now.
okay.
I would think it'd be a concern
I'll
now.
let
And
you, I'll let,
if anything does change, the Hydros is going to give you an alarm.
yeah.
So I mean, I think they've come past that nowadays.
I'll sort of agree with you. But what I will say is my concern. and again, this is just my concern because I'm in the business and I see weird shit, is that one day my return pump will just shut off and turn on and shut off and turn on because their neighbor's turning off and on their TV. I know it's a completely off the wall example, but that is my concern with something that is based off of a wireless technology. And I feel that with anything in my house. Everything in my house is hardwired. The only thing that's not hardwired is my laptop, which is wireless, my phone, which obviously is wireless. Everything in my house is hardwired, and I've always done it that way because of the things I see. You know, I have wires in my attic going all over the place. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, or they don't have the means to do it. Some people don't have an attic. You know, I understand that, and wireless in those situations is a fantastic idea. For me, I just would never rely on it. That's just me. Again, my opinion. And it's just based on.
There's too many steps along the way to make a change, or to control.
No, I agree.
There's so many steps that would have to get through.
But yeah, that's my concern. My concern has always been that there's going to be some rogue agent that's going to do something to the system and turn off and on things. Because I've seen it. I've seen it before. And that's why I don't like wireless outlets in general. Wireless outlets as a product, I will never buy. That's just me.
Right.
So, let's see if we had any other good questions here. Yeah, a lot of people saying good things about CoralView. I will say that I used to have a Reef Octopus skimmer, and their service was just so god awful that I got rid of the Reef Octopus skimmer. Again, that has completely changed. Really has. You know,
yeah, it looks like they've really stepped it up. Like I said, for years I wouldn't use CoralView or any of their products. I really wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But now that I've kind of started dabbling in them a little bit, I got to say I'm seriously impressed. So, yeah. And for me to say that, they don't give me stuff. I don't get free stuff from them. You know, mm-hmm. Anybody that knows me knows that whenever I buy something or give a recommendation or say anything positive about it, it's because I still am looking out for the little guys in this hobby. So if I say it's good, it's because I believe it's good. It's not because somebody told me to say that.
Well, you also have to understand that CoralView, I might be mistaken by my next statement. I'm not 100% sure, but I think CoralView used to distribute ReefBot. I think. And they said, screw this, I'm not doing it anymore. So that shows you,
I haven't heard on that.
You know, their quality of what they sell. Reef Dudes, what's going on, man? You have them all over your house. I know. Like I said, I'm a little crazy when it comes to wireless. I just don't like it, and I never will.
Are always on the same page on this wireless thing. Yeah, I've got 56 items on my router right now.
I know. Oh, I got way more than that, but they're not wireless. They're all wired. You know.
Yeah, mine are all wireless.
Reef Dudes, man, he's had Hydros on a lot lately. He's had him on 3 or 4 times. He's had Carlos on, and I definitely like what they're doing over there. I really do, and I'm calling out to Carlos to wink, wink, Mastertronic, wink, wink. Someone wants the Mastertronic. Yeah. Yep. See, they were the original ReefBot distributor. I was right. Harkins just said they were the original ReefBot distributor. I remember that. Everyone asked what tablet you're using. This is an Android tablet, isn't it?
Oh, mine. It's the Samsung 7 Plus. It's the brand new one.
I have 70 wireless devices here and don't have any issues. Again, until you do.
You open that can of worms, Derek.
It's okay. You know, it also, by the way, it also depends on how good your network equipment is. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. If you go to Best Buy, and not knocking Best Buy, even though I worked for them for 4 years and hate them with passion, when you go to Best Buy and you buy a shit router, yeah, you have a potential to have wireless problems if it's not correctly installed. I did a whole stream on how to do networking for all of you guys because I felt it was important. But networking also, if you guys have a crap router, of course your network isn't going to work and people are going to complain. But if you have a really solid router, and I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Hydros had a lot of issues with mesh routers in the beginning. I'm pretty sure they did. And people were going out and buying a bunch of mesh routers and having all kinds of issues. And everyone that knows me knows I hate mesh routers. But, yeah, see, Peter just said, I'm in IT, so my network is amazing. Again, if you know networking, you would understand why it's so important for things to work properly. Let's see, especially if you're relying on your whole tank. Let's see. How are we doing on time? Are you good? What are you up to today?
I'm good. Good.
All right. Trying to think
Chat.
if I had any other things to ask you. Um, any people we want to go after today? No?
Actually, I'll tell you what. Everybody, because you were talking about nutrients, I grabbed these and pulled them out. See if I can get them in the camera here.
I have
But this
those.
is what I
You
use for
recommended them to
nitrates and
me.
phosphate. Yep. This is all I use. It's really cheap. Not a hit on Brightwell or any of them, but this stuff here makes hundreds of gallons for less price than what one bottle of Brightwell is. So yeah, I mean that's what I recommend. And ask me in the chats, and I can send you the links to all of it and how to use it. You know, I just mix it up in a jug, and this is what I have.
Yep. And
And
yeah,
then
I
for
have
the
it
fish
too.
QT,
The green leaf.
then for the fish QT, these are the products that we're using.
What is that?
And like I said, this is a humble fish one.
Nitrofuracin? Never even heard of that.
Yep, good stuff. You use very little of it too, so you don't need a big bag like this. Bobby's a friend, Humble Fish is a friend of mine. That's why I got a big bag of it.
Yeah. Harkins was mentioning the Nighthawk router. Guys, the Nighthawk routers are actually really well. They're really well made. They are expensive, but they're really well made. So I agree.
Walmart carries them though, so yeah, I've got a Nighthawk, and
you know what else Walmart carries?
So I really like it.
Walmart carries lump charcoal, guys.
Yeah.
If you want lump charcoal, they carry it. Let's see. Is Wi-Fi 6 worth it? Ooh, that's a good question. I just upgraded my house to Wi-Fi 6, and what Wi-Fi 6 essentially is it's basically a new protocol. You know, they had G, N, A, B, blah 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 blah. Wi-Fi 6 is just a new one. I think there's not a big difference, at least from what I can tell. I think in the future there might be a big difference as speeds and as fiber becomes more popular. But right now, Wi-Fi 6, I don't know.
I'll tell you, there's got to be something to it because I have 350 gigabyte, or I pay for 300, and the internet comes right under the road straight to my house, and I have a direct link. So I actually get 400 megabits per second in my living room. And on my old router in my other room using 5 gigahertz, I could get maybe 100, 150. Now I get the full speed. I only lose like 10% going to the other side of my house on Wi-Fi 6. So the new router might be a little better, but man, it's really clean signal going, where I didn't have that on my old one that didn't have Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah, so Reef Dudes is asking, I have a Dream Machine, Ubiquiti Dream Machine, but again, my system isn't a normal system. So I had to upgrade all my access points. I had to upgrade all my lines. Again, mine isn't a Wi-Fi router. I have a whole, network. I have a professional commercial grade network in my house, so it's hard for me to contemplate what other people have in their house because I get this stuff for dirt cheap, so I just throw it in there. But I didn't notice a big difference between what I had before, which was Wi-Fi HD, which is very similar to Wi-Fi 6. So I didn't notice a big difference.
Okay.
Let's see. Older WRT 64, newer. Oh boy, that's ghetto. Let's see. That's a big difference. Speed. Blah blah blah. All right. Why are we talking about networking? So what kind of, you got anything unique, cool, anything in that tank that you want to show off? Any corals that maybe no one's ever seen before?
Nothing really. I mean, just not really. It's just kind of like I said, I'm just starting. So I mean, you can see I got a handful of coral in there. A lot of them came directly from Indonesia. So most of my coral are Indo, and they were maricultured over there. They're starting to color up now, but I mean, I maybe plug in some pictures stuff later. I don't know if I could really get you to be able to see it, but my polyp extension is just ridiculous. I mean, I put millies in there, and that was a mistake because you don't see any skeleton. And my acros, you can barely see skeleton. The polyp extension is just unreal on them. But they're starting to color up now. They're not looking too bad, but most of it, like I said, it's mariculture. So I'll have to get a video like you have in the background. I'll change the lights over sometime and post a video on your page.
Oh, that'd be
but
cool.
They're doing good.
I don't know what the hell this thing's called again. Galaxtrea, Galaxia. I don't
Alexi?
know.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is its tentacles literally go 12 inches to sting stuff. It
See, one
drives
thing
me
I do in my
crazy.
tank that a lot of people ask, now I always remove from the frag pretty much every coral. And on acros, I use some really good coral glue and I put them right on the rocks. I don't know if I can show that or not, but I growth when I just directly to the rock because they're anchored good, I believe. See if I can change it. I don't know if we'll be able to see anything or not. But I don't know if you can see the acros back in there. I don't think I can really zoom
Yeah,
in,
I don't
but
use frag plugs either, if that's what you're saying. I've never used frag plugs for anything.
yeah,
I just pop them off. I don't.
but
They find they grow better on the rocks, but
yeah,
that's
I
just
don't know if
me.
you can see.
Oh yeah, we can see
But
it.
all of my frags are normally half-inch frags because I'll go to friends' houses and I'll just break me off a nub and I'll just bring it home bare and just plant it right on the rock like you see.
Mhm.
But the polyp extension I get is pretty insane.
Yeah, that millie looks good.
Yeah,
It looks
can't
like
even
a
see the
millie.
millie really. Yep, it does. But I have a lot of luck with Montiporas too.
Yeah, I got that same one you have in
They're
the middle
growing
there. That
crazy.
thing grows like nuts. Yeah, they grow like crazy.
But yeah, if everybody's got any questions, I mean that's pretty much my system. I didn't really go.
Someone's asking about your mount. Is the mount you are using for your lights for convenience, or is it preference? I don't know exactly what he's
Oh,
asking, but
a funny story. That was temporary. That's the stock legs that come up with for the lights, and I was just throwing it together to get the lights up there. The plan is I'm going to build an acrylic top. If you didn't notice, my stand is acrylic and aluminum, and that's the stock stand that comes with that tank. That's why I like Pro Clear. It's just really nicely built. But
Mhm.
I need to build an acrylic canopy because I will have a canopy over top of this tank. Yeah, the legs, those are what came with it,
Mhm.
and I just went with them so I could have my lights up. And of course, I haven't done anything with it.
Yeah, we're redoing my nano in here, and I got to come up with a way to mount this light, and I just haven't come up with a good idea yet. Mounting lights sucks. I mean, it really
I
does.
always do canopies.
Oh.
My canopy would be a floating canopy over top the tank, and I'll run the wires through the wall, so it'll just have
Mm,
a really nice, clean look to it. I don't like
yeah.
seeing wires, and I don't like seeing legs, and I like it all to be nice and clean and seamless.
Yeah. Man, we only had 22 people enter the contest. I wonder if I should resume it and see if more people want to enter. Never done that before.
Yeah, give them a 10-minute resume. That'd be kind of interesting.
Okay, I've never done this before. Hopefully it works. Okay, there you go. Well, if you haven't entered the contest, now is the time because I reopened it to get more people in because 22 is not enough. So now you can enter it. Um, what was I going to ask you? I losing my mind. Been a busy couple days for sure. Let's see. No wires to be seen. Let's see. I'm here. You guys have any questions for Aaron? Ask us anything. Aaron is
Yep.
the reef guru. I call him the reefer of all reefers for a reason. I have a
Yeah, I
Waterbox
just learned
Cube
from everybody just
20.
like you.
I have a Waterbox Cube 20. I would to use with hydros. Should I get a control 2 or 4?
Depends how
Ah,
much they want to control. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
Gary, I don't
control
have
2
a
is pretty basic.
answer for that. Yeah, it depends
Yeah,
on how
control
much you
2 is
want to
pretty
do, man.
basic.
Yeah, the 3X or the new one, the 3 one, that might be a good solution as well. Uh,
Yeah, they actually listened to everybody and came out with one that's kind of in the middle. The 2 I don't think is really big enough. It's a good add-on. The
mhm.
4 is great because you got all kinds of ports, but some of them you won't use. But that 3X is kind of like right there at that happy medium where people are saying you need something that's in the middle. So I was happy to see that. I was really surprised.
I was on that stream with I think it was Devin, and I was like, man, that was a good product, guys. You guys are definitely listening because that was a good product. Have you heard anything about the Triton 2? I don't know what a Triton 2 is. I don't know what he's
Maybe
talking
the
about.
Trident thing?
The Trident 2, if that's what he's talking about. Multi. Sod, I think is how you say your name. No more networking. We're done with networking. Because everyone's going to get confused. I did a whole thing on networking something. I forgot when I did it, but it was pretty crazy. There is no Trident 2.0. It's all a myth, guys. I don't know anything about it because it's not real. People went on, Terrence was on with Ryan, and they started talking about a new Trident 2.0, and all they would do is just laugh and say, yeah, we can make one. Like, it's completely a bunch of nonsense right now. There is no Trident 2.0. At least not, no one knows about it, and if there is something going on, then something's going on, and who knows what it's going to be. But as far as I know, it's all just a myth. Thank you, Neil, for coming. Neil Faulkner said this has been a very informative discussion. They all love you, Aaron, except for a few people that I know that don't love you. But that's another story for another day.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I'm kind of brutally honest. I mean, I don't go out and really do hits on people, but I'm just brutally honest. Again, what I do and I say because I'm worried about the reefers that are just getting into this and getting taken.
Hydros does salinity. No, it doesn't. At least not yet. I'm looking for replacing my return pump. I'm looking at a Hydor or a versus core. Any opinion on return pumps? So I actually convinced Aaron to buy those Reef Octopus return pumps. I think they're fantastic return pumps. I really do.
Oh, the Varios. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, the Varios are nice. It's a funny story though, because I always liked the Coral Box or even the new Jabeos. Again, I keep on, and that's what I normally recommend to people. They're cheap, but once they went to sine wave, they are almost bulletproof. That's what I got my skimmer is a Jabeo. They're just really reliable anymore. Which it's funny saying that because years ago you wouldn't say that.
No. Yeah, I like Reef Octopus return pumps. I love my Vectra pumps, my Ecotech Vectras. I love them. I know a lot of people have had some issues. One of my Vectras started making noise, but I've really loved them. But yeah, I have to say I love the Reef Octopus. That's my go-to. I do have a core pump on my reef tank. I find it to be a fantastic pump, with the exception of it's very weak. I mean, it really is. If people say that it's powerful, they're not. They're lying. I mean, I don't have much headroom, and it's very weak.
I'm really impressed. This is the first Varios pumps I've ever had. So what's cool is the Hydros updated, so it's plug and play on the Hydros.
Of course.
So my Hydros is running. And you can dial it down to the 1% increments. It is really good at dialing it in.
CD Cruiser, thank you, man. Yeah, Aaron's awesome. They all love you.
Thanks, guys.
Like I said at the beginning, if you guys missed the beginning, I've known Aaron for a long time. We're good friends now. We talk almost every day. Not just about reefing. We basically don't talk about reefing anymore at all, actually. But he's taught me so much. I think he's learned a little bit from me here and there.
Yeah.
When it comes to reefing, man. When it comes to reefing, man, if I have a really off the wall thing, I will ask Aaron because I don't know, and he must probably had experienced it or seen it. I don't go to other people's houses and I don't mess with people's tanks. He's in people's tanks all the time, seeing all kinds of other things because he helps so many people. I don't have time for that, so. I know people want me to go and set up all their Neptune and everything, and I wish I didn't have a job and then I could do that, but unfortunately I have to work.
Look forward to seeing it, Mark S. I see Mark S. is going to put him a frag tank in the bathroom. Love it.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, that was just a closet. That started as a closet, and Hurricane Sally came along, and there was a bunch of lumber that washed up. It's like, you know what? I'm going to build me a frag room in here.
That's
awesome.
Actually
go ahead and use the bathroom. So it turned out pretty good. I like the setup. It's
Chris, we're gonna not go over it again, but Chris asked about your dry rock. He went over how he does all the dry rock earlier. We went over it pretty much in detail. There's also a description in the link in my description, it tells you exactly what he did with his rock. If you want to
Yep,
take a look
I
at it.
start everyone with I muriatic acid all my rock when I start a system. Again, I just do it so I know what's in my tank and how it runs. Again, my tank's 6 months old. Never had a water change. I'm not one of those proponents for not doing water changes, but my tank hasn't needed it, so I haven't done a water change. And I do say that's because of the way I started my tank with fresh, brand new. I know everything that's gone into it.
Yeah, someone said a Jabo, whatever, DCP 20,000 is
Those are
awesome.
big, man. Those are awesome.
Yeah, those are good pumps. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of AC pumps. Not AC pumps, DC pumps. I'm sorry. I used to have a lot of reflows and those gigantic Iwakis, and they were the noisiest things on earth. And I'm so happy that they've come out with these quieter pumps. But unfortunately for me, I haven't had success with strong pumps at that DC level, and that's been my biggest issue. I know Abiz makes some crazy pumps. They're like $3,000 though. I don't need a $3,000
Right.
pump in my tank. So I rely a lot on flow at that point. No, I don't really care how much flow is coming out of my return anymore. I just care about all my wave makers and everything to provide all the flow now. Return pump hasn't become that important to me anymore. At least that's my opinion on it. They used to be a
Yeah,
big deal.
I run very low flow through my sump.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else? Anybody else want to enter the contest? Now's your final time because we're gonna do this. So we're gonna give away $100 gift card to my store. Aaron's pitching in. It was his idea, so I really appreciate it. I really do. Let's see. It's been a couple STN issues. Aaron, yeah, I don't know. I mean, would water changes help with STN? I don't think it would.
It all depends on where it's coming from. If your whole tank's seeing some STN, then there's something definitely wrong in your tank. There's just so many things that it could be. A water change could help it. Just got to look at what your numbers are first before you do a water change. I mean, if your nutrients are 0 and you're doing a water change, then it could worsen the situation. But if you got high
Mm-hmm.
nutrients and you're able to do a water change and pull some nutrients out, maybe there's some metals in there you can pull out. A poly filter is one thing. If you start seeing issues in your tank, I like having a poly filter. For everybody that has a reef tank should have a poly filter ready. So if you start seeing issues, you can drop it in. They're not really expensive, but it gives you several different colors. So if there's something in your water, that might be able to help you pull it out until you're able to fix it or do more water changes or whatever you need.
Yeah,
But yeah,
polyfilter
water
is
changes.
awesome. If you guys don't know what
Sometimes,
polyfilter
a
is,
huge water change.
look at polyfilter. Polyfilter is great for emergencies. I have a ton of it just for emergencies to pull stuff out. But Harkins Aquatic just made a really good point. Purit is also fantastic. That's what I run.
Yes.
I run Purit in all of my tanks. I always have. So Purit's a really good product. Just be really
It's
careful
good for
with
the
it.
removal.
Don't
Yep.
don't use a lot of it. It can cause some havoc. Let's see,
Somebody asked
Terry.
my nutrient levels.
Oh, they did.
I run my nutrients. My phosphate is 0.06. It dips to 0.05 once in a while. Nitrates stay right at 10 to 15.
Mhm.
Once my tank's a year old or so, I'd like to try to get them up to 15 to 20. But yeah, it sticks basically around 10, maybe 15 at the most.
So let's see. We're at about 2 hours, so I definitely want to close this up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I do want to ask you a couple final questions. How long do you run polyfilter? What, for a night? I mean, you just need to see it pull stuff,
It
right?
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can leave it in just like any kind of filter. You just leave it in there until it's plugged.
Apex is king, just so you all know. Okay, Sammy. Um, so here's my one question I wanted to wait till the end. Um, you've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. I notice, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but you don't do a lot of stuff to your tank. If there's one thing you can say to everyone out there, and I think I want you to say it, is don't do a lot of stuff. I mean, that's the big thing. They got all this stuff out there. They sell tons of products, right? They sell Vibrant, for example. They sell all these chemicals to do all kinds of things to your tank. And I see so many things in so many forums. When I go on BRS's stream, they got 600, 700 people talking about all these products and how do they work and all this. I'm a big proponent of not using anything. I wanted to get your opinion before we go today.
I'm the same way. Like when I started my tank, I set it up so it could run itself. I like the ecosystem run itself. Once in a while, we may have to intervene, but like I put a frag in my tank and it got a bunch of algae. I mean, I say a bunch, it wasn't a ton, but I just let the tank handle it. If it would have gotten out of control, I might have looked at ways to fix it, but my nutrient levels never changed. There was just that small window where that new algae that came in could actually, proliferate and kind of move about the tank. I just kind of let the tank do its own thing. For algae, shut lights off for 2 or 3 days, just so the bacteria gets a chance to take over whatever it's using. There's so many chemicals, though. Like you said, you go to these stores, these big shops, there's 500 chemicals to dump in your tank, and there's always a reason to use them. I don't do anything in my tank. Most of the stuff I can do naturally. Just don't dump stuff in to try to fix something in a day. You see an issue, if it's a serious issue, yes, water change or something might be able to fix it. But I don't like chasing it with chemicals. Hey, I start seeing a little algae, so I'm going to dump these 4 chemicals I saw in a video. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Just keep it simple. Don't try to do things unless it's an emergency. Just try to slowly get rid of things. Don't try to get it all in one day.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about is, he's asking about GFO now. Aaron likes GFO, but he only uses it when he needs it, right? You don't use it all the time.
I've seen a lot of tanks where they read that you should have it in the beginning, and GFO is like a last ditch for your tank. There's ways to get rid of, PO4 in your tank, but try other things. One thing I've seen where people have high phosphates in their tanks, and I see this a lot in newer tanks, 6 months down the road after they started it, they'll have high phosphates. And the first question I ask is always, what is your nitrates? Now, the Redfield ratio isn't quite right for our tanks, but there is a definite balance in your tank. So if you have 0 nitrates in your tank and you have high phosphates, try bringing your nitrates up. I mean, that's it. If anybody followed any of my discussions when I was starting this tank, I couldn't get phosphate in this tank, so my nitrates went up. There is a balance. So once you hit that certain balance, you can actually control really well what's going on in your tank. But if one or the other's off, don't chase your nitrates if you don't have any phosphates, and vice versa.
And that's what he taught me, by the way, guys, because I was kind of all over the place, and my balance I couldn't get my balance. And he's like, dose nitrate. I'm like, dose nitrate? What? So I dosed nitrate, and what do you know? My balance the phosphate started going down, and things started kind of moving in the right direction, Yeah, Sammy Rofos is awesome. That he just mentioned Rofos.
Yep.
That's your favorite as well.
Rofos is what I like. Yeah. If I need it, I'd use Rofos.
But that's the thing, guys. I wanted to end the stream with just kind of Aaron. One of the reasons I love Aaron is he'll come up with a solution that is not go out to the store and buy this product. He's not going to say that. He's going to say, well, what did you do yesterday? And how do we fix it with what you currently have? And take a week, take a month. Don't do it in an hour. I can tell you from my experience with Aaron is everything in my tank looks fantastic. I hope anyone here in Arizona has a chance to come and see my tank. I hope Aaron one day gets to come and see my system here in Arizona. And it's mostly thanks to him. I mean, I got to be honest, Aaron. My reef tank wasn't looking so good before I met you, and it's been fantastic since I have. I've always been good at I've always been good at taking care of fish tanks. My 300 gallon has always been flawless and doing fantastic. But once I got really into reefing and really putting a lot of money into it, I always had a lot of issues, And Greenleaf.
Somebody was asking about this. I'll post them on your forum, on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'll post the links to where to get it and the calculator to use it.
It's Greenleaf, right? Greenleaf, if I remember.
Yep, it's Greenleaf.
Yeah. I have the same stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. And again, for those that don't understand what those bags are for, it's to increase nitrate and phosphate, not to decrease. So this is if you're having issues like I did, where my nutrients were too low, or you need to balance. Your nitrates, your nitrates too high and your phosphates too low? You want to increase your phosphates a little bit to kind of balance it out or something, right? I think I'm saying that right.
Right. Yep. Yeah, like when my tank was starting, my nitrate started climbing in the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, maybe. I actually had phosphates dosing on a doser because
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't hold my phosphates up. And it took maybe a month of doing that. And then I immediately or not immediately, but eventually was able to just shut off the phosphates. And they
Mm-hmm.
haven't changed since that day. They stay at zero point zero 0.05 or zero point zero 0.06, almost like clockwork.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, some people like myself thought that adding fish, adding food was going to increase it. My tank was so filtered and so good and clean that I couldn't raise anything, and that's the green leaf is what did it. And I don't use it every day, guys. I mean, I know people that dose that stuff like every day. Like I don't use it every day. I only use it for if I have an issue, which, I
Yep.
haven't had an issue. So,
Eventually your tank will balance itself to where you don't have to dose. I mean, that you do come to that point eventually. Just a matter
right.
of how long and how big of a, you know, what kind of issue was causing your low phosphates or whatever. But eventually it will come into its own.
And you got me introduced to Poseidon. I have a Poseidon. I love it. I grow Phyto. I notice you don't, but I grow it, and I love
Yeah,
it.
I'll go back to it now.
Yeah.
I did for a long time.
What's your secret? My tank is packed full of tangs, and I'm battling to keep nutrients down. Well, okay. I believe
That's
Reef
when it's a
Dudes.
one-on-one conversation,
Okay.
really.
Yeah, I believe Devin has a clear water scrubber to get his nutrients down. That's your problem. I'm not going to say anything other than that. I'm sorry.
Eh. Well, if it's growing algae, that's cool. But yeah, I've seen some issues with some of the CWs. Yeah, yeah, that's basically one you talk side to side and go through the whole system and see what's going on. But I'll tell you, a lot of the tanks I've seen that have high nutrients, and you're the one that turned me on to it. That is nanospec or the max spec nanotechs. Those things really work. I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing what they do for nutrients. It just seems like snake oil gimmick, but it is not. It's one of the very few products that I've seen that actually do what they're supposed to.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Devin, reach out to Aaron. I know he loves to talk to you. So reach out
Oh, I
to
like
Aaron.
Devin, man.
I
Devin and
know.
I talked quite a bit over the years.
I know. So reach out to Aaron, man. He will help you with your nutrients. I can tell you that I am not the best with nutrient control. I can tell you with absolute certainty, Aaron is the best, without a doubt. I hate to say it, Aaron, but if anyone needs nutrient control, you are the best. I'm just telling you right
Yeah,
now.
there's always a way to fix them.
All right, guys, let's run this contest. So we're giving away a $100 gift card to my store. That's freaking cool. I've never given a gift card out to my store. Um, and I have to update the stock levels. It's just been too busy. I haven't got any skies yet. They're not giving out skies to us little boys, but they'll give it out to us eventually so I can sell them. Let's see. All right. So the winner today is Don Dante. It's funny. I believe he also said I would like to win. It's usually the people that say I would like to win that win.
Congratulations, Don.
So it's not going
Hopefully
to
he's
be
still
a
here for it.
50. It's not going to be a 50. It's going to be a $100 gift card. And yes, you have to still be here. I know this was a long stream, guys. I appreciate everybody that hung out with us. I really, really do appreciate it. I know this is a longer stream than normal, but I was so happy to have Aaron on. So,
Yeah,
yep, there he
been
is.
blowing it up for a long time.
Yeah, he's been holding off for a very long time. But what we do need one day is to get you, me, and um, Batfish Killer on, and me and you could just go to town on him. That would be
Oh, you gotta
funny.
get Devin on here with us, man.
Oh yeah, Devin too. That would be cool. That would be a good one.
Oh yeah.
So I think we're gonna have a Hydro Sky next week. I have someone scheduled next weekend who really is into hydros, big time. So he's going to go over his system and how he does all kinds of cool stuff next week. That's the plan. So anyway, Don Dante, reach out to me on Facebook, and we'll get you that gift card, my friend. Thank you so much, Aaron. I can't tell you how much it means to have you on. You started this. For those that don't know, man, it was Aaron that convinced me to start doing this. So thank Aaron for everything I do, because Aaron is the one that did it. Devin had a little bit of a hand in it, but you mainly started this. And he is also an admin of the channel, so if you ever have any questions, bug him, not me. He's the man. Thank you so much, Aaron. Everyone else, I hope you have a great day. Peace.
All right, take care, guys.